Hey, listeners. Before we get into today's episode, if you enjoyed this podcast and would like to support us by becoming a paid subscriber, you can do that by clicking on a locked episode and following the instructions, or you can click on a link in the description. We are creating special content and are planning to add more and more special perks for paid subscribers, but either way, we appreciate you just listening to our podcast and supporting us in that way. Thank you so much, and let's get into today's episode. Hey, welcome to Widow Too Soon. This is your host, Mark Massaro. I'm here with my friend and co-host, Michelle Badersol.
No,
Ebersol.
Close. Close. Michelle
What's up,
Bader.
Michelle?
Well, I have been married for 3 weeks now. So
3 weeks?
3 weeks and 1 day. 2 days. 3 weeks and 2
Wow.
days to be exact. 23 days? Yes.
23 days? That flew by.
I know. What's crazy is leading up to it seemed to take forever. And now it's like, whoa, we've already been married 3 weeks. Crazy.
Forever.
Forever. See, I know it.
Nice.
You know what's kind of sad is that since Joel grew up in Brazil, he doesn't know references to movies or music, like anything that happened during the 80s, early 90s.
Well, he's got some catching up to do.
I know, because they were in Brazil. And so he doesn't know a lot of it. So a lot of times he's like, what are you talking about? Anyways, I have decided to go by Michelle Bader Ebersol. I went to Social Security and to the DMV, but I wanted to put Bader as my middle name, but they wouldn't let me. It was like a whole, go to the court name change. I was like, whatever. But I decided officially, yes, legally, I'm not Bader Ebersol, I'm Ebersol. But I decided I wasn't ready. I had a teeny grief moment when I was changing my name, and I was like, I'm not ready to let go of Bader. That's still connected to my kids. And so I've been signing my emails and everything on social media is Michelle Bader Ebersol. So you can just call me Michelle Bader Ebersol on here. Because Badersol, or you can say that Badersol works. But
you know what though? It's okay, right?
Yes, anything you feel is okay. However you want to do it. And so I feel like by still being Michelle Bader Ebersol, then I'm connecting with my kids, even though I'm not legally that. I am still connecting with them and then also connecting with Joel. So it's just, I didn't know I'd feel this way. Before I'm no, I won't even have Bader at all. But then that moment at the Social Security office, then I was like, oh, what am I doing? I think I still want it, but I didn't want to legally. And then at the DMV, they're like, sure, we can put Bader as your middle name, but if that's not what you did with Social Security, it's going to be a headache. They're going to flag you as 2 different people. It's a big pain. I was like, okay. Then I don't need to do all that. So anyways, I am Michelle Bader Ebersol.
I am.
Yes, it's crazy.
What about formerly known as?
Formerly known as Bader. Okay, here's a little weird moment. It wasn't really grief, but just weird that only widows and stuff would get. So I had Luke's name on my bank account. Never took it off. Just one of those things I never did. So I went into the bank to change to Ebersol. And I had a death certificate to take Luke off, but the lady couldn't do it. She's like, no, you have to make an appointment. So then I had to so I changed my name because I've already changed your Social Security, DMV, I could do that. But then I had to sign something with my name and Luke's name on it. So I signed Ebersol next to mine and then his name was below and they wrote not present. And I was
oh, wow.
So weird. And Haley was with me. So we kind of talked about it afterwards, how weird that was. I'm I need to change my name because I got married. Oh, and I had all these things I need to do. I need to take off my late spouse. I need to add my current spouse. We were doing it all at once, but Joel had to be there. So we got to come back and do it. But just these things that was just kind of weird, seeing his name and then not present. And so he was like, why couldn't they just take it off? And I explained, well, you have to prove that someone died. So it's not I'm just taking someone's money. They don't know whether he's alive or not and closing his account. So I have to prove it with this death certificate. And it's a whole process.
What a pain, huh? All that stuff was so frustrating because you're already going through a lot anyways. Mm-hmm. And so to constantly be presenting death certificates all over town to just get things in your name and all that stuff. I know it was frustrating. You'd be very envious of my cousin-in-law. He actually married a girl that had the same last name as him.
Wow.
She didn't have to do anything.
That's
she
crazy.
Still went by the same name. I know.
Were they related?
No, it's a very common,
gotta ask.
As if the last name was Smith or something,
something like that.
But so she didn't have to change her driver's license. She didn't have to change anything. I'm like, oh, that's cool.
Yeah, that's awesome. So let me think about what we've been up to, just getting used to life after coming back.
Wait,
from
hold on,
honeymoon.
hold on.
Okay.
Michelle, what have you been up to?
You already asked me.
No, I said,
wait.
what's up?
Oh, you're right. Okay. Well, what I've been up to is getting used to life, coming back from the honeymoon. I think I talked about this in the last episode. It was kind of hard, like the first day, because it was like rainy and like, oh, this big event is over. But now I'm getting used to life, and I'm absolutely loving having Joel here. For example, like last week, I think I shared this when we were doing the podcast. He was helping Haley parallel park, and she got a 96% on that drive.
Nice.
She said she felt so confident after Joel helped her. And, just like having him here, just to have a partner again, like is absolutely amazing. And so just been settling into life and figuring out like our new normal. And, and just as we're going to get used to that, then our 2 older boys will come home from college in about a month. And so then we'll get used to another new normal. And, I'm just absolutely loving where I am in life. And then also I've been doing a lot of grief recovery with widows. And then I have a class starting this week locally to help children with loss. It's for adults, but it's giving them the tools. And so I've really, really enjoyed that. And I feel like I'm finding my purpose. Along with, I feel like the podcast has been part of my purpose, but now I'm actually finding a way to make a living too. I mean, not that we don't get paid the big bucks for this, but needed a little bit more than that. And then, also I started tutoring again. Some people got my number from the school where I worked. And so I have a regular, she's going to come every, like once a week, and I'm going to work with her. So that's been fun. She came last week to my house. So doing my tutoring and doing that, and then subbing a little bit and just kind of getting back in the rhythm of life. So let's see, Easter was fun. Oh, here's a fun fact. So my sister-in-law, like her family, they invited us to that, and they do an adult egg hunt. Like, well, teenagers are allowed to, but the adults get to go first. So they do the little kid one, and then 13 and above do this other one. And they let the oldest person go first. So there was like one of her aunts, and then Joel, and then me. And like, I beat everybody running out there, and Joel got 19 eggs. I got 28. So I won.
Nice.
Not that I was like, we were in competition or anything, but the winner.
So adult egg hunt, what were they, like bourbon filled eggs or what?
No,
just kidding.
Like the little kids, like 13 and up, but they let the adults go first. Like Haley was so bad. I only got 5. It's not fair. You got to go first. Like, well, when you're as old as me, you can go first. And
that's awesome.
It was super fun. And I won a gift card, and it was just a lot of fun. My first holiday with Joel, and it was pretty cool. And we are trying to celebrate. Yeah, I almost said the wrong word.
It would be so
nice. Oh, we are so in key. It's awesome. And we tried a new church. Well, it was our 3rd time there, and we really liked it on Easter, and it was fun, and just had a great day. And I feel like my kids had a good day too. My oldest said it was like depressing. It was his first holiday away. And so he's like, it doesn't feel like Easter, and he missed out on, but I, sent him an Easter basket and all that, but
you did.
I did. Cool. Well, it was Amazon. It was already put together,
Well,
like,
still.
And it was just like all these snacks and stuff. Well, yeah, he, I still want to send him stuff, and he loves Easter. And so anyways, Easter was good. And I'm trying to think what else has happened since the last week. Just regular life. And it was spring break. Oh, this is another fun thing. It was spring break. So one day Haley needs some more practice on her driving. So they have a rule in Washington. You have to have 50 hours of driving practice. So she needed a lot more hours. So we drove all the way to the beach and back. So it was a total of like 6 hours, and she drove it all. And she did really good. And there was like all these windy roads. I was scared to death, but she was, at night, windy roads, no lights, but she did really, really good, which helps me feel more confident. Yes. Her driving, that just her driving to school will be fine. We're hoping to get her license. Like I'm trying to make an appointment now. So in the next week or 2, she'll get her license, which will be really nice. Anyways, that's a lot of random stuff happening with me. What's going on with you?
Let's see. So I just had a visit from the lovely Tina. Nice. That was awesome. We had a really, really great time together. Let's see. We went to in Pigeon Forge, Tennessee. It's like, Dollywood land. So It's like there's tons of stuff near there to do. And we went to the Hatfield and McCoy dinner feud. I was telling you a little bit about that before the episode, but it's similar to like, it's a dinner theater. So
those are fun.
Yeah, it was super fun. And so we were on the Hatfield side. So we were rooting against the McCoys.
Was this like with the kids too, or is he not a
Yeah,
kid?
yeah,
Yeah. Oh, so they
yeah.
probably
Oh
had
yeah,
fun with
no.
that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was totally, well, yes, it was fun and then after, an hour and a half, Luke was like, is it almost over?
Yeah.
But it was cool. They did a bunch of tap dancing and they had like, anyway, it was super cool. I
Yeah,
don't
it
need to
sounds
get into
like
the
fun.
details of that, but it was a lot of fun. And then Tina was really sweet and she got my kids Easter baskets
Aw, fun.
she added a bunch of personal stuff that she knows they like into
Cute.
them. So it
Aw,
was really
sweet.
sweet. And then we together we had the kids go upstairs so they could clean their room, quote
Yeah.
unquote. And then we stuffed eggs together, her and I, and then we hid them
Fun.
all over the house and let them do an Easter egg hunt. But she had to go home the day before Easter. She works at a church, so she had to
Oh,
be
she
there,
needed it.
obviously.
Yeah.
And so she had to go home, unfortunately. But so the next day, so actually on Easter, I went to church with my cousins. And to be honest, I've kind of gotten this is just like full confession, so I can be accountable. I've gotten
course.
comfortable not going to church. I
It's
started
easier.
not going
Yeah.
for certain reasons. At
Yeah.
first, I stopped going because I wanted to watch online with Tina's church, and so we could
Okay.
talk about the service. Then I just started doing other stuff. And then I kept saying I was going to go to church and I kept not going. And then my kids got sick and, I don't
Yeah.
know. I'm just being honest. I just got,
Yeah.
I got comfortably in a rhythm of not going. And so on Sunday I went, I guess I was technically a CEO Christian, the Christmas and Easter only,
Yeah.
but I thought it was important to start going again, and what better day to start than Easter. So I had a really good time there. I had a little bit of social anxiety going in there because I don't really know many people at the church, if anybody, except my cousins. But they were very warm and welcoming, which is cool. They saved a seat for me. So it was neat. We had a great time. We took some pictures after and just chatted for a while. I went home. Okay, this is super random, but I'm from Southern California, so this is very unusual. But I saw a beaver in the middle of the street.
That is
and then as we drove close, I'm like, what is that? And then it like waddled off like back into the wetlands area. So that was super cool. I get home and somebody, I have no idea who, myself and my two neighbors, we have a little mini side street. We have a little street and we're the three houses on that street. And so all three of us have small children. Somebody came over and put eggs in all of our yards.
That's so fun.
Yeah, somebody put Easter eggs in all of our yards and it was really sweet. I have a suspicion of one neighbor that it might be, but she didn't fess up to it. And when I posted about it on Facebook. And so that was really sweet. The kids had a great time getting their eggs and stuff. And then, I told you about the little nest in my backyard.
Yeah. I remember.
And all you listeners, I told you about the bird nest in my backyard. Well, we came home on Easter Sunday and there were a bunch of little baby birds in there.
Oh, perfect.
They had their little beaks up looking for worms. Cute. So it was really cute. And we just had a good time together. And I've just been studying real estate like crazy. I'm trying to get through that course. And, I'm ready to start slinging some houses,
Yep.
Got to make that money, man. I have another side business venture potentially starting up with somebody else. That's kind of under wraps at the moment, but it could be a pretty cool thing.
Nice.
So anyways, that's what's been up with me. And that's pretty much what's been up with you, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Just loving being married and being in Ebersole.
Well, why don't you rub it in?
I'm not trying to be like,
just
okay.
Kidding.
And I don't
I'm happy for you. I'm just kidding.
Okay, side note, I do want to say this. I think I shared this before. Like, somebody told me that it was hard for her to look at my post because she wasn't in that same place. I was sharing it. I did a TikTok live this last week. Just wanted to try it. I had done a long time. And I shared that. And somebody else told me I couldn't follow you for a while because it was so hard for me. And so I want to be sensitive. Like when I'm saying I'm excited about being married, it's generally because I'm excited and it is to give hope. Yeah. It is not to rub it in anyone's face. And I know, but I forget sometimes like what it was like to be back in that place.
Well, I think it is very kind of you to say that. And I'm glad I was joking.
Oh, I know you're joking.
I think that anybody listening, I could understand how it would be hard to see, but I don't think anybody would actually be like upset with you or something. You went through hell to get to this point. you deserve to be happy again, just like all of you listening deserve to be happy again. And, I agree with you that it is hopeful. I mean, I've thought the same thing when I talk about Tina and how happy she makes me and stuff. I also think about the sensitivity of people that I really care about that are my family on Lacey's side are listening. And, I never want it to sound like, I don't know, like me being really happy and in love with Tina is separate from how much I miss and love Lacey. That will never change. And so, but we do want to be sensitive, right? And it's just a weird life now, right? Like it just used to be no big deal to be like, oh my gosh, I'm so in love with Luke, and oh my gosh, I'm so in love with Lacey. But now I have to consider, other people's feelings when I say certain things. And not that anybody wouldn't want me to be happy. My mother-in-law is awesome. She's very supportive, just really wonderful. But I always want her to know, of course, that I love and miss Lacey. And I don't ever want that. I don't ever want it to be like, oh my gosh, I've never been happier in my life or whatever. You know what I mean? Like, because that's not how it is. And so, but I appreciate your sensitivity to others. And I know others listening do as well, because there are a lot of people that aren't there yet. But I think it should be viewed as hope. And if you're listening and you're not there yet, but maybe you're 6 months out, you have to remember Michelle and I are almost 3 years out. And so things change, your heart changes, while you still miss and love your person, you can fall in love again and be happy again. Actually, one of our listeners, I'm so happy for this guy. I won't say his name, but, he reached out to me and we chatted a little bit. There was a girl he was interested in, and, I chatted with him a little bit back and forth about, how I feel like he should handle it, and how I feel like he shouldn't hold back from his happiness or whatever. And he started dating her, and I just saw on Facebook they're engaged.
Oh, that's awesome.
Isn't that cool? I'm so happy for you, man. If you're listening, it just warms my heart so much to know. I don't want to share his private business, but so happy for him. So anyways, awesome. So let's get started on today's topic, which is called Grief is Not a Competition.
True that.
So let's give them something to talk about.
A little grief to figure out.
Oh, that was good.
Right?
I know, right? I am good, right?
I know, right?
All right, so let's talk about it.
Okay, let's talk about grief is not a competition.
What do you feel about that? Grief is not a competition.
Well, there's two sides to that I've experienced. So the first is when people feel that they can relate because they had a pet die, or so personally, I never had that about my son, but he was in 6th grade. I always tell him that you were young. Like somebody was like, I know what you feel like. I think they said goldfish died. Something completely off.
That's what I remember, my fish. I remember you telling that story.
Yes. And then I've experienced that. I know how you feel. I'm divorced, which there are some elements that are similar, but you really shouldn't say, even to another widow. This is what I've learned in my grief recovery classes. I can't say to you, I know how you feel, because we have different lives and different situations, but I can relate to you. Like I know the general feeling of being a widow.
Right.
So it's really not a good thing to say to anybody. Like, I know how you feel. You could say, I felt something similar. Like, even if someone said to me, like, yeah, I kind of get what you're talking about. I am divorced, so I feel like I felt some of those same things. That would have been a lot better.
Or I've also been through grief.
Yes, exactly. I feel like it's sometimes a competition. Or the other side of that is when someone says, oh, I'm going through this, but it's nothing compared to what you're going through or what you've been through. But I don't want people to feel like they can't talk to me when they have something hard. Like I had friends do that in the beginning, and I know they're just trying to be sensitive, but I want people to still talk to me about the things that they're going through. And so those are kind of some of the things I've experienced. Just seems like online sometimes, like in these widow Facebook groups, there's people that seem to try to one up each other a little bit here and there about their grief. And it's like, grief is grief. In the Grief Recovery Handbook, we talk about grief is always experienced at 100%. So whether that's 100% of a goldfish dying or 100% of a spouse dying, like it's 100% when you're feeling it. And so even though that kid was probably trying to do a good thing, telling Peyton that, and in his life, that was real grief, and he was experiencing 100%. It's just, you can't say to someone, I know how you feel. You just
Mhm.
can't. And so I don't know, what have you experienced with the grief being a
Yeah.
complication?
So I've had in again, like you mentioned, the Facebook groups. I had somebody in there
Yes.
say, well, you're so lucky, at least your
Oh,
kids are young. And that was hard because they were
yeah.
totally, like you said, they're trying to like one up. They're like, well, I went through that, but my
Right.
kids are older. And it's
Mhm.
like, okay, you're like, I definitely concede that there are many elements to going through this journey that would be more difficult with older kids.
Mhm.
But there's also a lot of elements that are more difficult going through it with little kids.
Right.
So it just doesn't matter,
Right.
and Tina and I are a great example of this. We don't ever have like grief competition, so to speak,
That's
because
good.
we just listen to each other when it's time to listen to the other one.
Right.
Um, or I've had it where I was sharing with somebody a hard moment I was going through, and they started going into their experience,
Right.
like,
Yes.
and started making it about them when I was having like a grief moment. It wasn't even a grief moment. I mean, I had a whole cloud over my head at that season of life.
Yeah.
And I was just opening up to somebody and saying how it was difficult, what I was going through, and that I just miss her a lot, and this and that and the other thing, or whatever it was. And it was like, oh my gosh, yes. Like that reminds me of when I da 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 da. And then it was so hard for me because blah 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 blah. And then they just start going on, and I'm just sitting there. I'm a nice
Mhm.
person, so I'm just sitting there listening to them and trying to show them empathy. But at a certain point, I had to cut it off. I was like, look,
Right.
like, I'm sorry, I'm not trying to be rude, but like I was telling you about what I'm going through. And
Right.
now I find myself, I'm sitting here listening to you about what you've been through, and I'm trying to show you empathy. So that was frustrating. But yes, I have had the exact same thing you talked about. I had friends downplay what they were going through or not wanting to talk to me about
Right.
their problems because, and they would say the same thing. But I'm sorry. I shouldn't be complaining about this because it's nothing compared to what you're going through.
Mhm.
I had a friend who was confiding in me with some things, some issues he was having at home with his wife and stuff like that. And it wasn't anything big deal or anything, but just they were in the middle of a fight kind of a thing. And he wanted me to kind of weigh in on it, so to speak. And he just realized, he was like, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. Like, I shouldn't be talking to you about this. You don't even have your wife.
Oh.
And I'm like,
Mhm.
I get where you're coming from and I appreciate that and respect it, but like your problems are still valid. I still care about you as a friend. And what you're going through is what you're going through. Like, yeah,
Right.
I will admit, like, it's not, if we're to compare which one's harder, of course,
Right.
losing your wife is harder than being in an argument with her. But
Mhm.
that doesn't mean that you don't have feelings right now. And, so yeah, that's kind of my experiences with it. I've dealt with a lot of that, a lot, and or also like I agree with you, the divorce thing.
Right.
It's not to take away, divorce has got to be really hard.
Right.
It's got to bring a lot of grief. It's got to be really difficult. But it's very, very different than losing your spouse,
Yeah.
and
So many
so
ways.
to
Yeah.
say like I know what you're going through, it's like, no,
Yeah.
you don't,
No, you don't.
or some people that are divorced will refer to themselves as being widowed. They're like, it's like the same thing. And
No.
you're like, no, it's not. It's not. I'm sorry, it's not. Especially when, and I know not everybody has this situation, but when you have a good marriage and you lose your spouse, that's very different from a divorce.
Yeah.
But I know people who've lost siblings or kids,
Right.
and that's also super hard. And so I like that. Well, for example, my mother-in-law, she lost her daughter. We
Right.
can relate because I can't understand what it's like to lose such an amazing daughter. So I don't try to ever say that what I'm going through is harder, of course, because like
Right.
I only knew Lacey half of the time that she did, or, and I didn't birth
Mhm.
her and grow up and raise her and all these other things. So
Right.
there's very many aspects of it that are far more difficult for her. And also, I can get married again someday. She will never get another daughter, and
Right.
so it's different. And so I don't ever try to compare, but we're there for each other, understanding that we both just have grief. And, she lets me talk about what it's like for me. I let her talk about what it's like for her. And there's no competition. And actually, if I remember right, I think she gave me this idea for a topic because of some of the things she's experienced.
Yeah.
And that would be her business to share, but she's experienced some things that made her feel like, gosh, it's not a competition, And so anyways, yeah. So what more do you have more on that, or do you want me to ask you a question?
No, I just was wanted to comment on, the people who, I can't stand it when people, they're not listening. They're just waiting for when they can say something. And that's what it made me think of, that's what these people are doing. You're talking about your grief and they're just waiting. But then there's a difference. I was thinking about like our journey in supporting each other and going through all of this. I don't feel like it was ever a competition. It was more like, I can relate to that.
Right.
And we're able to share our stories. And then it was nice knowing someone else could relate to. So there is good in that, if you can find the right safe person where it isn't a competition, where you can just, like you and Tina do, like just share it. And like how we were in the beginning of our journey, like, oh, your spouse went through cancer. Like, okay, somebody who gets it.
Right.
And so that there's something really great in that.
Of course. Yeah. And sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to say, my grief counselor used to always say, grief is grief and pain is pain. Like it's all grief. It's like when you go through something, you go through like a grief stew. This is how she explained it. And like everything you've ever grieved comes to the top. And I know I went through a lot of that. And so the point is, even if your grief is different, you're still going through these emotions. And what were you going to say?
No, sorry. Yeah, I was just going to say, like when you and I met, it was never a competition,
right?
Because we both had, first of all, we had equal respect for what each other had been through. So for me, it was only 14 months, but Lacey fell apart rapidly and she was paralyzed and all these other things that were very different than what you went through. Yes, ultimately, we both lost our spouses to cancer. But for you, I couldn't even wrap my mind around 17 and a half years of watching him. And then he went through an amputation and all the things that you saw, like very, very different. But we never competed with each other.
Right.
We never, you never told me, well, at least you had most of your marriage intact. Right. I never told you at least your husband wasn't paralyzed or whatever. Right. Because it didn't matter.
No.
We both understood like, wow, we both lost our spouse to cancer. And, I really respected a lot that, I know my sister-in-law had a lot of grief. I don't want to tell too much of her business. She had somebody really close to her pass away. In addition to Lacey, she was also very close to Lacey. But she had somebody very close to her pass away. And she used that to relate to me and to give me advice, but never, ever to compare or to make me feel like, I don't know. She did go through grief classes and things. So she had a lot of recommendations for me. And she was actually a great resource for me. Like I could call on her anytime for anything. And she was awesome at that. And she never made it feel like, even though she lost Lacey also,
right.
She understood that like what you're feeling is different than what I'm feeling. It doesn't mean one is harder than the other,
right?
But it's different. And I always felt like she did a really good job of like respecting that. And so I would say to the audience, like, if you can find somebody that's really good at relating to you, that's an essential thing to have close by your side. Somebody who's, not just sitting there with their mouth open, waiting for their chance to talk. They're like nodding along with you and you could just see their mouth and you need to start talking faster because as soon as you let in a breath, they're going to just start talking. You don't want that. You want to open up to somebody who like, you can see the compassion in their eyes.
Yeah.
And it does feel good to find somebody to relate to. It does feel good to find somebody that understands what deep grief feels like.
Yeah.
That is very helpful because they understand what you're going through. So if you tell them like, yeah, it's so weird. I just went online and started buying all these clothes. They'd be like, yep, I get it. You know what I mean? And so it's very valuable too. But what would some of your advice be, or what did you want to say further?
I just was thinking about, I feel like for me at least, there's an instant bond when I meet a widower, like you just like, you just get it. And that's why we're actually putting together, I don't know if I shared this with you or on the podcast, that we're putting together a widow's tea. We're going to do a Mother's Day tea for widows.
Oh, that's cool. You did tell me that.
Yeah, my nonprofit's doing that. And if you are a listener and you live in the Vancouver or Portland, Oregon area, reach out.
Or you want to travel?
or you want to travel, give me your information. We'll make sure you get an invite to come. But the point is to just, we don't have some big thing planned, but we want to bring people together so they find that camaraderie and they find somebody who gets it. And obviously
That's
we can't
awesome.
do that for all the listeners, physically in person, but I feel like we do a good job on our Facebook page, especially. Instagram hasn't really picked up so much because Facebook is more of a platform where I feel like it's more interactive. You can do more things, all of that. So anyways, if you're not part of our Facebook community, you can join that. It's Widowed Too Soon. Just look it up with it too. And I think we have a link to it. Anyways, I think it's important to find those people that are safe people. It's not a competition, and that it's not their identity. That's something I was talking to a client about today, that some people find grief and being a widow their identity. And that's a place they remain stuck. And so they don't even get the help they need because they just want to be there. And so that's not a healthy person either to help you get through this, someone who is stuck there. But somebody who can, just really relate to it, but not take away or minimize what you've been through. Even, between us and our kids, it's different. We have different kinds of grief. I don't understand the pain, losing parents, and my kids don't understand the pain of losing a spouse. So even that isn't exactly the same. And also it changes for me. And I've talked to my kids about this recently. I might even talk about it on the podcast. I don't feel like I am personally in grief right now. There might be a thing here or there, but I have a husband. It does not replace Luke, but I do have a husband now. So I have that role. They do not have a role of a dad. And so their grief is different, and not that we're comparing, but I feel like theirs is worse now because they don't have that and I do. But it's not a competition. But so even between us and our kids, our grief might be different, because we're in different places with that. But I think the most important thing is to get connected. I think that's what helped me. You were a key part of all of this for me. And then I met lots of other widows, and finding a community of people who get it. I meet widows and they don't know any other widows. And I'm like, oh, that would be so hard. And even look in your area. If you can go to meetup.com and type in the word widows and look in your area, see if there's any events going on. Sometimes there are. Type in widows and your city or your area, you might find a page, and try to find things locally that you can go to. And then also, be connecting virtually. And from the virtual friendships, you may find someone that you can really connect with and who really gets it. But I think that is definitely key in the healing process. But finding, again, that safe person who doesn't make it a competition and who's not finding their identity, not to make light of it, but it's kind of funny, but not really funny. But remember, there used to be people posting crying selfies in some of the Facebook groups, and we make light of it, but it is hard. If that's, I don't know how to say this. I'm trying to be sensitive because I know that they were in such a desperate place. They didn't know how else to cry out for help. But you don't want to stay stuck in that place where your grief is a way to get attention.
Yeah. I was just talking about that with my mother-in-law today. This is a little bit off topic, but
no, it's okay.
I was saying that, I don't ever want to let my kids use this as an excuse to try to get away with something and my kids don't do it. They're really excellent kids. They're phenomenal. Right. They're really well behaved, really sweet kids. But if the day ever comes where one of them is acting out at school or whatever, I don't ever want to let that be an excuse that, well, I lost my mom or whatever. And it's well, that's not an excuse to, start acting out, or you can have grief, you can be sad about it, but for example, if somebody's kid starts getting into arguments with his teachers or something, and he's just being really rude to them or whatever, and he wants to use the excuse, well, I lost my mom or whatever, that's, to me, that's not acceptable, as you can't use it as a crutch. Right. That being said, on the flip side of that coin, I will pull that card if I need it for something. For example, if I want grace on something, I was just talking about all this with my mother-in-law today, so sorry for having to hear it again, Miss Mother-in-law. I don't want to say your name for your privacy. But if if there's something that has gone on in my life that has, makes it look like I might be a bad dad, but I know the truth is it was because of that 2 years of hell where unfortunately my kids were neglected a bit, quite a bit, because I had no option. My only ability was to keep them alive at that point in life. It was so crazy. But but so if I need grace on something, if somebody's looking at me like, why haven't you done that or whatever,
right,
I'll tell them, well, because I lost my wife to cancer, she was paralyzed, she needed me at her side every 30 seconds, like it was around the clock, 24 hours a day, so I will use it if I need grace, but I will never use it as an excuse of why I can't do something positive in life.
Exactly.
I feel like that's really important, through different channels and different abilities and things like that. But I was so proud when I was able to buy a house by myself. And now I'm starting this new career by myself, or I'm, working on it. And I had to graduate high school and I did all this stuff. Like I kept pushing, and I don't want to accept that, like, well, because I had this one extremely traumatic event in my life that like my life is over.
Exactly.
You need to go through the season of grief. What you feel, you can heal.
Good impression.
Thank you. No, but really, what you feel, you can heal. You go through it, and then you need to start getting to a point where you start working on moving forward in life, right?
Exactly.
Like, and so, yeah, I understand. And, we were also in a place where we were looking for anything to make us laugh. Yeah. And so for us, we found crying selfies kind of funny. So like it was something that brought, entertainment, because it was like, oh my gosh, did you see that post? And some of them would be, somebody that was widowed for many years, and then they're like posting, and I'm like, I remember like asking, I'm like, okay, did they like, I don't know. I never went through a moment of grief where I was crying, where it even crossed my mind to take a picture of myself crying. But you know what? That's just not me, but hey, if it helps somebody, it helps somebody.
I have actually posted crying selfies if I think about it, like when I was at Luke's grave. I had some.
Is that what it was though? Tears. Was it a crying selfie?
Yeah, I guess I had some tears. So I'm embarrassed now that I think about that. I think it's even my profile. It's still my profile picture on Instagram for my Widow Goals page. Let me look. I think I'm crying in that selfie. So I'm actually embarrassed. No,
that's okay. Because I'm not talking about, I understand people doing weird things when they're like going through the thick of it. I'm talking about the people because I really do feel like there's this thing that there's a lot of people, and this might be controversial, but I'm just going to say it. When they become widowed, all of a sudden they're flooded with attention.
Right.
And I think they don't realize that attention is going to go away, because it does, as you know. It goes away. Everybody goes on with their lives. Your yesterday's news, et cetera, et cetera. And so I do feel like there's just something inside of some people that they just want to hold on to that. Yeah. And so they will, many years down the line, will keep posting about how broken they are. And they very well might be. I'm not saying they're not. I just think that there are certain people out there that they don't want that that widowed status to like go away. Does that make sense? Like, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, exactly.
And that might sound a little mean. And I guess I'm talking about a specific crowd of people or whatever. And I don't want to be that. I don't want to like be this forever sad person. I don't want it to be like my life is over. Then again, I haven't been married for 50 years, but I do know people who have, and they're still posting, it's been a few years. They're posting about very positive things on Facebook. They don't post about, and it's okay if you want to post about on your anniversary, or you see a picture of them pop up and you say you miss them and love them. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the the constantly being broken for years and years and years. And I just don't relate to that. I don't.
Side note.
Lacey would be disappointed in me if I did that,
Yeah. Okay, listen to the side note. Tell me you can relate to that.
Okay, I'm listening to the side note.
People who write cryptic Facebook messages like, I can't stop crying, and that's it. Or like, you know what I mean? Like they do
where they don't.
messages. They're like, I'm not gonna, I saw one the other day. I don't know, I'm gonna pray for the people who gossip. Or like just like where they want you to ask them more, or like, my life is so horrible. Or like the ones that are like asking for attention. Fishing, yes.
Yeah.
That, I mean, grace and love and peace to them all. But I'm just saying, like,
well, we're all human too. You're right. We shouldn't be talking about this stuff because it is gossip, but we're human.
Oh, I'm sorry. Oops.
No, it is. I was just doing it.
No, we're going to keep the realness. You know what? Somebody said the other day, they did say that we babble for one thing, but then they did say, but I like them because they're really authentic. But we do babble, which is true. We do babble, offended, but not really. I'm like, well, it's true.
I wasn't offended.
We stick to this.
We do babble.
Strict script. I mean, people like authenticity, right? So we're leaving that in, okay? Probably shouldn't have said we're leaving it in.
Hey, we're allowed to have opinions. I'm just saying, as Christians, neither one of us should be sitting here saying this or that or the other thing. We're trying to promote a positive message, but we're also human, and we've, seen a great deal of stuff that's frustrating. So it's okay to talk about, because I don't think anybody listening is perfect, or anybody listening doesn't understand what we're talking about, But yeah, I know what you mean. Those like, it reminds me of the movie Office Space. Have you ever seen that?
Yeah, a long time ago. Like,
there's this scene where he goes, they were talking about somebody having like $1 million idea, and he's all, I had an idea like that once. And then he just goes silent, and then this guy's all, really, what was it, Bob? Like, he's all, well, okay. And then it was like he totally was like fishing for them to say that. I know I have friends that do that on Facebook too. They're like, oh, I hate my life or whatever, and then they just leave it at that. And then all the comments are like, why? What's going on? And anyways.
And at the same time, I want people to feel like they might not have anybody else to turn to. So if they need to put it out there so that they can get help and whatever, I want them to do that. So I didn't mean to.
Yeah, and people are different. People, I have a ability to be pretty vulnerable when I'm feeling something, and typing it out on Facebook what I'm feeling and stuff like that. Yeah. And not everybody feels that way, or some people don't want to do that. And I think I'm the kind of the weird one that, like, there's, I don't like air out dirty laundry on Facebook or whatever, but if I'm feeling grief, like, I don't shy away from talking about what it's like, or saying that I've been lonely over the years. I've made posts about being lonely or whatever. Yeah. So anyways.
Guys, I want to share something with you that I'm really, really excited about. I've mentioned it a few times, but I am now a grief recovery specialist. And what that means is I help people actually recover from grief. Like, you don't have to stay where you're at. I take people through one-on-one and groups, and we really go through steps to identify first what's holding you back. Did you know grief is like having a bunch of rocks in your backpack? So we've got to unpack those, and I give you step-by-step ways to actually move forward. So if you want to learn more about this, there's a link in the show notes that you can book a call with me. I do one-on-ones, I do groups. I would love to speak with you about how this could work for you. Thanks.
Anyway.
It's an interesting, we got a little off topic, but it is an interesting topic. Yeah, we do, because we're babble. We babble. But it is a very interesting, the grief competition thing is very interesting, and it's very prevalent. Prevalent. That doesn't sound right. Prevalent.
Right? It's with a V first. Prevalent. Yes.
Prevalent. Okay. Yes.
There you go.
So thank you. In the Facebook groups.
Yeah, it's true.
The grief competition is strong in those groups.
Fierce. Yeah.
You'll see somebody post something, and then a lot of times in the comments, it's like, well, at least or be thankful you didn't have this, or at least you didn't have this.
Right.
And it's like, they're totally just taking away from what you're feeling.
Yeah.
And that's like, it's messed up,
Yeah.
Like, make your own post. talk about what
Right.
you've been through, and if you feel like your situation's harder, or I had somebody say to me, gosh, I wish I had the ability to share my story like this because it would floor people. And I didn't know how to take that. I'm like,
Right.
is that a compliment, or is that like, are you saying that like your story is way crazier than mine because it got a lot of
Right.
responses, that particular, I think it was the post I made when I met you.
Mhm.
When I
Oh,
first
yeah, the one
posted in
I
the
saw.
group or something,
Yes. Uh-huh.
it had like
was a lot.
1,100 comments or
Mhm.
something like
Yeah.
that. And I was like, whoa, that's crazy, and so honestly, I wasn't expecting that. I didn't know. I
Right.
mean, the group was 7,000 people or something like that.
Yeah.
I wasn't expecting any kind of
yeah.
reply like that. And so I was a little like taken back by, but yeah, there were some weird comments. There were some really sweet comments. This guy, and I'll just shout out his name again because he was really nice to me. His name's John Polo. And he's like an author. To be honest, I didn't read his book because I'm not a big reader. But he was very nice. He asked me for my address privately and he sent me a copy of his book.
Nice.
So I do not endorse his book because I've never read it, but I will say he's a really, really nice guy. And he, told me to reach out if I needed anything. And I see now he's got like, gosh, I think he had like 50,000 followers or something like that now. So,
that's cool.
yeah. So anyways, but he was a really nice guy, but yeah, it's kind of, I don't know why I went into that, but I was just saying that the Facebook group can be a little interesting the way.
Yeah. Do you read those anymore? Like,
no, I left all those
there.
pages. I
Oh, I
left all
didn't-
those pages.
I didn't leave them. I see notifications, and once in a while I will go look at it. But it's like, whoa, I'm just in a different place now, and I don't even go to all of it.
Well, it's hard because it seems like 3 times a day there's a new widow or widower in there, and they're telling their
sad.
story, and it's so
Right?
sad. Yeah,
Oh.
I remember I was like, gosh, like I just didn't know how many people there were
Right.
that were losing their spouses at a young
Yeah.
age.
Oh, I'm part of some like widow dating pages. I should probably leave those now. It's never bothered to go, but it'll pop up like Washington widow dating page, so and so posted. I'm like, oh yeah, I'm not really part of that anymore.
Yeah, I'd say it's time.
Now
to
that
leave
I'm
that
married,
page.
I should probably leave. So
Yep.
I will leave those.
I remember that was the greatest feeling for me. This is way off topic, but
That's what we do.
when Tina reached out to me and we started talking, it felt so amazing to like just leave all of these like dating sites I was on.
Yeah.
It was like I think there were 2 dating sites and then Facebook dating. And I remember telling her that I was like, I just feel like such a loser that like I feel like I want somebody to respond before I stop going on these pages. I just can't believe like. And then she said something really sweet.
Guy who wanted to spoon you. So
that's right. I did. Yes, he did tell me I was the perfect spooning size.
You never forget that one.
Okay, thanks, bro. But
I'm sorry.
But I remember her telling me that she's like, I don't know what those girls are looking for, but they're clearly blind or something like that. And I was like, I'm leaving these Facebook page or these page, whatever it was, these groups right now.
To be clear,
and we weren't
I'm not
even
on any dating sites. It was just a page that I liked. To be clear, I am happily married.
Joel, is he in the background? Can I talk to him?
No, he's at work. But
okay.
I will tell him that I was accidentally on. I just want you to know. And the whole, now I feel like people are judging me. I'm not on any
just kidding.
Listen, no, I need to clear my name. I'm not on Facebook dating. I'm not on any dating apps. There are pages that are called like, just like there's Christian widows, young and widow with children, blah, blah, blah. There's like Christian widow dating, blah, blah, blah. I just never remove myself from the group. Okay. Just to be clear.
All right. The Bader Soul name is clear.
Hey, thank you. I am the Bader Soul. I kind of like that. I kind of want to change that to my legal last name a little bit because it's so clever.
I thought you said something else.
No, whatever it was, you're thinking wrong. I said,
I
want to change my name, kind of like for real. It's kind of clever. You came up with it, Bader Soul. It's like it includes both, but then I won't have a last name matching my kids or Joel, so then it kind of defeats the whole.
Yeah, I think I think on Zoom is good.
Yeah, I'm Bader Soul.
Yeah, you guys can't see that because you're listening to a podcast. I'm looking at Michelle's screen. We record this through Zoom, and it says Michelle Bader Soul.
Yeah, because you came up with that name, and I was like, I like that. I was waiting for you, so I was like, oh, I'm gonna change my name. So anyway,
change my name.
You acting
So what's
kinda
up with-
shady. Okay, go ahead.
What's up with Jason Waterfalls? How's he doing nowadays?
It's good. Don't go Jason Waterfalls. Okay, just so the audience knows, we've talked about it. It's been a long time. So back in the day, like when I was like really little, because I'm not that old, the song Don't Go Chasing Waterfalls was really popular. And I always thought it was Jason Waterfalls until one day one of my friends was like, "What are you singing?" I'm like, "Jason Waterfalls, don't go Jason." And they're like, "It's chasing." I'm like, "No, it's not." Yeah.
It's a
And
guy
then-
named
oh,
Jason Waterfalls.
Yes. It's Jason Waterfalls. So my friends in high school would be like, "You have a disease. You always hear the wrong words." We didn't have back then where you just look up the lyrics.
Yeah.
You
Wait,
had to
don't
actually-
don't age yourself.
No, you had to listen and write it down. I remember writing down lyrics, like, here's my tape player. Let me play, pause, record off the radio. Then
Yeah.
I'm going to play it. I'm going to pause it. I'm going to write down the lyrics. I literally did
Did
that.
you
Now
call up
just-
radio stations for requests?
Oh, yeah, of course.
Oh yeah, me too.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
back in the day, if you want to hear your song, you couldn't just push play like on a
Yeah.
streaming service. You had to call the radio, wait your turn,
Yeah.
hope they play it.
Yeah, and I wasn't one of those fancy rich kids who had recording tapes. I had to take an
Oh.
old tape and decide that my new mixtape that I was going to make was more valuable, and I had to cover the little tabs on the
Oh,
top
yeah,
with
yeah.
tape so
You
I
could
could record
re-record it.
over it.
Yes.
Kids will never know what we went through.
They won't know. They just push like any song they want, they can hear just like that. I mean, I enjoy it now, but like,
Recording TV movies over your
Oh,
old like Disney
yes.
movies.
yes. Yep.
I'm like,
And
Big
then-
Trouble in Little China's going to be on. We're recording it.
What's that? I don't
You
even
know, remember that movie with Kurt Russell?
No.
Big Trouble in Little China?
I'm
Oh.
gonna check it
it
out.
was-
Sounds interesting.
Yeah,
That's
I think
so
I liked it more back then than I would now. I don't know.
Yeah. Funny.
It's a
funny.
little cheesy, but whatever. That's how I roll.
That's how you roll. Anyways, now we're super off topic, but that's
Yeah.
what we
So
do.
yeah, grief competition.
So,
it all
grief-
it all ties in.
It does. Grief isn't a competition. I don't think I have anything else to say about it. I think we covered it and more.
And then some.
And then some. And then some. So
Yeah.
if you're still
Well-
here, thanks for being here.
Yes. Yes.
At the end.
You know, super random. Okay, so I probably said this in the previous episode too, but I used to think this song was "Sky's Still the Limit, I'm Yours," but it's signed, sealed, delivered.
Signed, sealed, delivered. Yes.
Yeah.
That's another funny one.
And Lacey was like, "Oh my gosh, she was famous for that. If I sung anything wrong, she'd be like, wait, what did you say?" And I'm like, "No, what is it? What is it really?" She's like, no. What did you say? Sing it again? And I'm like, "No." Like she would not tell me what it was until I sang it again. So she could laugh at it for a couple minutes and then she'd tell me what it really was.
Oh my gosh.
So
Yesterday,
or,
Joel did that. It wasn't a song, but we were talking about somebody's name being Calvin. And he's like, "Calvin." He's like, from the Chipmunks. Simon Theodore Calvin. And we're like, no, me and the kids are like, "It's Alvin. It's okay. You grew up in Brazil, whatever." You get those passes. He'll say the wrong, and like he says, he's, yeah.
Oh, that's awesome.
yeah, and he
That's
says
really
things
funny.
like with the incorrect like syllable, or like he just says things different because he learned English at the same time as Portuguese, and so sometimes it gets all mixed up. And he always says McDonald's. I'm like, there's no A in it.
McDonald's.
All the time. McDonald's.
That's awesome.
Pajamas. I'm like, they're pajamas. It's cute.
Pajamas.
He calls them
Awesome.
pajamas. He's saying things all the time. Adults, but maybe some people say adults. Like there's just a lot of them. It's cute. It's cute. He can get away with it, but it's always like,
Yeah, well, in English
That's okay.
is English his second language?
well, no, it's officially his first, but they spoke Portuguese. Like he grew up from birth to 17 in Brazil where
Right.
they spoke both. And he said in their home
Okay.
it was a mixture. Like it was just-
Okay. Yeah, then
total-
that's totally understandable, but it is funny.
then people get really confused.
Calvin.
I know. They get really confused because he has the southern accent too. People are always like, "Where are you from?" I can't quite place it. I'm like, because it's Brazilian southern. You'd never guess it. Like, it's funny. Anyway,
That's awesome.
I don't know how we got to wrong words. Yeah, that's how we got to that. Anyways, let's go ahead and wrap it on up. How about that?
No, this is entertaining.
It is kind of entertaining. I mean,
What other songs have you messed up before?
Oh, I can't think of it right now. Next time I think of it, I'm gonna write it down so I can share it. But I know
Okay.
I've there was this old song. My parents used to listen to oldies. I just thought of this the other day because I saw it somewhere, and it used to say like, "Give me the Beach Boys and free my soul. I want to get lost in the rock." And I thought it was no, it's Beat Boys, and I thought it was Beach Boys. I thought it was Beach Boys forever.
Awesome.
Give me the Beach Boys and free my soul. That's one. So yeah.
Yeah,
sure
that's good. I used to think it was hey, you get off of my back, but it's get off of my cloud.
it is.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I don't even know what it was. Oh,
Yep.
yeah. I'm sure everybody finds this so entertaining.
It's very helpful for widows. This is very pertinent, relevant information.
Widows, they're like, yes, now I can go on because I know this information about the songs Mark and Michelle used to say wrong. I know that.
Yeah, and Tina gave me a medicine cabinet, and I hung that in my bathroom today, so that's relevant.
Oh, that's cool.
Right?
Nice. Not relevant, but I like it. It's a nice little story.
I just want to see how random we can get,
I ate some
Wait,
crackers.
wait. Where did you guys go?
Oh,
You guys, you went to like a cheese factory or something?
we did. Okay, I gotta tell the story. So Tillamook is a really amazing cheese brand.
Yes,
Everybody
Tillamook's
here knows
awesome.
it, but it's also nationwide because I found it in Louisiana too. So they have the one and only cheese factory in Tillamook, Oregon. And so,
Oh.
like I've been several times. The kids have been when they were little, they don't remember it, but Joel had never been. So it was like, it's on the way to the beach. So we went, and you go and you see like the whole process of how they make cheese. And then they have cheese samples, and they have every single cheese thing
that's
you could
awesome.
ever want. And then we ordered mac and cheese and grilled cheese with like all the different cheeses, and it's so fun. My kids don't like cheese, so they missed out. But
That's cool. Did you get everything on the side?
on the side? No, well, because I just get plain. But listen to this. So my kids, my oldest, he likes cheese, but he wasn't there. So the younger two, we're going through the line, and Joel goes, "You guys, grab some, get a sample for me." Like he's like, I'm like, get samples. And then it was just like these cheese packets that were sealed. So we had a whole bunch to take home.
Oh,
He
nice.
was smart. I'm like, oh, good thinking. Get them to take our samples.
Yeah. That's awesome. So,
Yeah.
okay, so you do like cheese?
I love cheese. Yeah.
Okay, so why on the Arby's beef and cheddar do you get it without the cheddar?
I don't.
I thought you said you do.
No,
I thought you said you just get the plain roast beef.
No, maybe that's like when I was younger, I used to. No,
I'm gonna go back and listen to the episode.
You go
'cause you
find
said
that episode when I say, I promise I like beef and cheddar. When I was a kid, I used to order tacos from Taco Bell without beef or cheese or lettuce. It was just cheese. But no,
Okay.
I love cheese. No, cheese
with
is my
no
friend.
with no hamburger meat in it.
Right. But no, I like meat now. I've grown up a lot, but
I've
I
grown
like
up.
I haven't had Arby's in so long. It sounds so good.
I saw a bumper sticker one time that said, "I'm so hungry I could eat Arby's."
Oh my goodness. I like Arby's.
I
Okay,
know
here-
there's a real.
here's
I
the
do
fun-
too, but a lot of people hate it.
Let's just keep being random. When I was 5, I had a shirt and it said, "Where's the beef?" Do you remember the commercials?
The old lady. Yes.
Yeah, and so there's a picture of me at
Where's the beef?
the Grand Canyon wearing a shirt that says, "Where's the beef?" That's a fun little fact.
That is fun. That's awesome.
We should do an episode just called Randomness, and we just share, like, no plan. We just share the most random things we can think of about our lives.
Okay. Well, how about this? When I was 4 years old, my favorite sweater in the whole world, and I wore it every day, was my Stop and Go sweater. It had a red light on the front that said go, and a black light or a red light on.
Oh
Wait, a
my
green light on the
gosh.
front that said go, and a red light on the back that said stop. It was
I
my
love
favorite
it.
thing in the whole world. It was my Stop and
You're
Go
like,
sweater.
"Stop," and then you turn around and go. I bet you did that. I bet you
I
did.
probably did.
That's interesting. You know, when
Yeah.
I was 3 years old, my parents had a like hardware store, lumber store, and I drank paint pigment. I drank paint pigment and I threw up, but I didn't die.
Well, that's thankfully you didn't die. That's really bad.
Yes, this is so random. Oh my goodness. People are probably just like done. They're like, stop.
Yeah,
playing,
they're like,
stop
oh my
playing."
gosh, we're just gonna watch the listener. What is it called? The when you can see how much the attention or
Oh,
something
yeah,
like
we're
that
gonna see a drop off.
just drops
Like-
off. They're
It's
like,
like
"These guys are dumb."
everybody. Okay. All right. Maybe we should stop with the randomness. Anyways,
No, this is great. But yeah, we'll stop.
it's not really relatable, probably. It's so
No,
random, but it's kind of
it's-
fun.
It's not really relatable. It's not relatable at all. You know, if you can make a connection from beef
Okay.
and cheddars
Okay.
to grief being not
Okay,
being
I got it.
competition.
Okay, so the beef sandwich that you thought I ate with no cheddar thinks it's the best, right? Like I have been through the most processes to get here, and then the beef and cheddar's like, the beef's been through it and the cheddar, so it was harder for me. Boom.
Boom. Full
Definitely.
circle. See, it's all relevant.
We can turn anything into how it relates
My
to
stop
grief.
and go sweater. I'm like,
Yeah.
stop.
Collaborate
Grieve.
and listen.
Okay,
and
now go.
That's good. That's good.
See, it's all relevant.
It's all
We're
relevant.
teaching life lessons here.
We are. But to wrap
All
it
right.
up.
Yes, to wrap it up.
Grief is not a competition. Neither is our randomness. Even though I could probably go longer with more randomness.
No, I could be way more random.
Hey, wait till that episode and we'll see like how long the episode is. That'll be fun. Or we can do that.
First
as a
of all,
live.
I'm way more humble. Just putting that out there.
Yes, you are.
I'm the
Very
most
much
humble
so.
man you'll ever meet.
Probably with that attitude. All right, for real.
All right,
Now
for real,
people
for
are
real.
just really getting done with us.
I know. I'm sorry.
Would you close this out in prayer?
Yes,
Back
I
to
would.
serious.
Serious. Okay. Lord, thank you so much for this ability to speak to people that are going through such a hard season. And I pray that, we can bring some positivity to their life. I pray, Lord, for you to send others into these people's lives that are not grief competitors, not grief thieves, but they are those who will be understanding and compassionate and have relatable situations that they've been through, because it is such a helpful and valuable tool. And we pray, Lord, for all those listening, especially those in the beginning, that you would just walk with them, comfort them, and love them through this season as we know you will. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. If you liked this podcast, give it a little bing, 5 stars on Apple Podcasts, wherever you listen, blah, blah, blah. We know we're on Spotify. And if you have just 30 seconds, if you want to write something out about like how funny we are or something.
Why would you ask that after this episode?
Oh, never mind. Don't do it today because it'll be like they just babble on and on about nothing.
Yes.
But anyways, we want to connect with you. You can email us at widowtoosoonm@gmail.com. Find us on Facebook, Instagram, all the places, all linked in the show notes. So
Go watch Calvin.
Go watch Calvin. Calvin. Anyways, thanks for
Calvin
listening.
and the Chipmunks.
And we'll see you next time. Have a great
Thank
week.
you.
Bye.
Bye.